Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pearson Airport Explorers virtual camp. Thanks for joining our second camp this summer, and it's actually our last one. I can't believe how quickly the summer's gone by, and soon all our airport explorers will be back in school. I hope that you had a great time joining us at our camps and that you share all the fun you had with your friends at school. But before I start, we'll go to the next slide here. I want to introduce myself. A lot of you already know me. My name's Catherine, and I'm the manager of community outreach. And what I do at the airport, I think I have the best job, is that I get to meet with people in the community and talk about all the great things that we do. And I'd like to introduce you to a friend of ours who's joining the camp for the first time. Justin, you want to tell the explorers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin, and like Catherine, I think I have a pretty cool job as well too. So I work in the noise management office, where I speak to people like your moms and dads about how planes take off and land here at Pearson Airport, and some noise that can come from the airplane. So it's a really cool job, and I look forward to hanging out with everybody today.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So you will be the perfect person to talk about the control towers and the runways with our explorers. I also want to introduce our producer here, Ruba. She's in the background here, but I'm having a little bit of problem with my computer today, Justin. So Ruba's going to help us along and make sure this runs smoothly. So hi, Ruba. Thank you.
Hey
So
everyone.
yeah,
Sorry,
thanks.
I
It's
have to be on
okay.
mute.
I know. It's great to have you, Ruba. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we'll just go to our next slide because I know everyone's keen about learning about the runways and the towers. But before we look at the presentation, Justin and I here just want to talk a little bit about the information you see here. I know now many of you explorers have seen this slide before, but for those of you who are new, I'd like you to take down some information here. We'll put it up later. But the reason I'm asking you to write this down is at the end of the camp, we're going to be giving you a special assignment that we're going to ask you to complete and then send to us for a chance to win some cool prizes, such as our Explorer caps, hats. I've got mine on right now, t-shirts, or a jigsaw puzzle. So once you do that, you finish your work, you'll send it to our email address, which is trafficcontrol@airportexplorer.club. And if you joined us at our July camp and you sent your work in then, and you send in your work for this camp, you'll also be eligible for a chance to win a Chromebook. And the draw for the Chromebook will be on September 1st, just in time for the start of school. And we'll email the lucky winner of the Chromebook shortly after that. So remember to send us your work from both camps so you can qualify for the draw. So, Justin, what happens if some of our explorers who are joining us today missed our
Okay.
last camp in July?
Well, Catherine, we have some good news. We recorded our last camp and a few others we've done in the past as well, and the recording is on our website. And we are also recording today's camp as well, in case our explorers miss something interesting or they just want to share with their friends.
Good. Yeah. And speaking of the website, what else can our explorers find there, Justin?
Our website, airportexplorer.club site, is pretty cool. On it, you'll find so many fun activities, games, puzzles, and interviews with some really interesting people like pilots and falconers, and even an astronaut. There's just so much fun at the airportexplorer.club website. And after our visit today, if you're interested in learning more about airports, you can sign up on our website, airportexplorer.club, to join the club and find more fun stuff and interviews.
Great. Thanks, Justin, for that, because that's some really good information. And so, you know what, Ruba, I think we'll go to our next slide. And then, Justin, can you tell our explorers what we're going to be doing today?
You bet. First, we'll look at a presentation that takes you inside the control towers and talks about the runways. We're going to pretend we're all pilots, so we can see all the
Ooh.
steps that are needed to depart and arrive at an airport. Be sure to pay extra close attention because we're going to be giving you some special extra insider information that will help you later when we test your memory.
Okay, so I'll be sure to pay attention.
Absolutely.
And then what are we doing?
And then after that, we'll visit Russ, our roving reporter, who has a special visit planned for us today. He'll be speaking to us from the runways and tell us more about how they operate.
I'm always so excited to see what Russ has to say and learn more about our runways at Toronto Pearson.
And then, Catherine, next after that, we'll play a trivia game to test your memory about what you have just learned.
Ooh, I love trivia, and I guess that's why we have to pay special attention.
And then after trivia, we're going to answer a couple of questions that our explorers emailed us before the show. Unfortunately, because we have so much to cover in this hour we're together, we won't have time to answer many of the questions you sent to us in the chat box. However, when you send in your work and you have a question about today's topic, please send them to us when you submit your work for a chance to win some pretty cool prizes.
Okay, and then we'll end our time together with an activity you can work on after this camp. So remember, as Justin said, remember to pay attention, send in your work to be eligible to win some cool prizes. So explorers, are you ready to go exploring? And remember, as we said, pay attention as you go along and we go through this presentation, because you'll learn some information that'll help you play the trivia that follows. And make sure you stick around for the fun activity at the end of this presentation. So, okay, Justin, let's take a look at the runways and the control towers.
Roger that, Catherine. Airport Explorers, let's go. Today's presentation is all about runways and the two really important towers found here at Pearson Airport. So when people want to take a trip in their car, they decide where to go, then they just jump in the car, start their engine, and off they go. But if you want to take a trip that you need an airplane for, there's a lot more steps to that. And to be able to take off and land, there's a lot of steps and a lot more processes involved. And for each of these steps, there are people working really hard to make sure everything happens safely and smoothly.
Yeah, and we're going to look at all the people who are involved in making sure that the trip goes smoothly. I mean, there's so many people who work at the airport, and yeah, it's just not a matter of jumping in your car and taking off. So let's see. I'm excited about pretending to be a pilot. I kind of wanted to be a pilot at one point in my life. How about you?
Me too. And you know what? Today will be a great day to do that, because let's imagine that everybody here is a pilot landing at a plane here at Pearson Airport in Toronto.
Cool. So what do we do next? Ruba.
So when you're flying an airplane, before you land at the airport, you need to talk to people called the air traffic controllers. When you speak to air traffic controllers, there's a lot of communication that's involved, and air traffic controllers are the people that watch all the airplanes to keep everyone safe. Air traffic controllers also make sure pilots are following all the safety rules. For example, pilots have to keep lots of empty space between the airplane and other airplanes when they're flying high up in the sky.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other way, the way air traffic controllers are sometimes referred to are as ATC. And, a tip for explorers now, if you're a pilot, pretending you're a pilot, you have to listen to the air traffic controllers, because what they do is they make sure that you maintain, as a pilot, safe distances between other planes. So pilots usually have to be about 1,000 feet in altitude above other planes, or 3 nautical miles between planes. So there's lots of rules, and you can see two of the air traffic controllers up there in the tower, watching what's going on there. So let's see what's on our next slide.
And in Canada, air traffic controllers work for an organization called NAV Canada. NAV Canada controllers work in a tower in the middle of the airfield here at Pearson Airport. That way they could see all of the runways here at the airport. And NAV Canada will tell you, the pilot, when you're flying your plane, which runway to land on. The choice depends on direction and the strength of the winds, and on the other planes that are taking off or landing here at Pearson.
Yeah, no, that's a good hint. Remember that, explorers, the air traffic controllers, or ATC, work for an organization called NAV Canada. So, a tip for explorers, and I don't know if you knew this, Justin, but every country has their own air traffic control organization. So when a pilot and an airplane, of course, crosses a border, the pilot starts talking to a controller who works for the air traffic control in that country. So if you're leaving Toronto Pearson and you're going down with your family to, say, Disneyland, what you would be doing is you'd be crossing the border into the United States, and you would be talking to the air traffic controllers who are in the United States. So there's a lot of, as you said, Justin, there's a lot of communications that are going on, and pilots are constantly talking to air traffic controllers.
That's some really cool information, Catherine. Now,
Thanks.
For the pilots that are landing, that are flying into Pearson Airport, and after you've landed your plane, first of all, great job. But your conversation with the air traffic controller isn't over just yet. Now you'll talk about which taxiways. So taxiways are smaller roads off the runways, and exits you should take to get onto the apron. Now, remember, the apron is the area of the airport where the planes are parked, loaded or unloaded, refueled, and boarded.
Yeah, so you can see all the planes that are sitting there on the apron. I'm gonna tell you a couple of things. When you think of apron, though, Justin, what do you think of?
I think of something that you would wear in the kitchen when you're cooking a big
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah, no, and I have lots of apron too. But I think the word apron, as far as airport language, means something that wraps around. So that's kind of a good reminder for our explorers. And then another thing is that we also think that taxi. I think a taxi, and I think of a yellow car or an Uber. But I mean, taxiways, that's just means when the pilot is driving the plane over to the apron. I want to point out something else on that picture there. Can you see that at the top there? Can you see that black circle? Do you know what that is, Justin?
I don't, Catherine. Can you tell me?
Yeah, that used to be where our old Terminal 2 used to be. So when it was torn down, you can see the outline of where it used to be. So people always get confused when they come to Toronto Pearson. We have, how many terminals, Justin?
We have two terminals.
And do you know what their names are?
They are Terminal 1 and Terminal 3.
Right, and there's the missing Terminal 2 there. So we didn't rename the terminals when Terminal 2 was demolished because we didn't want to cause any more confusion. So there you have it. So that's where the missing Terminal 2 is. Okay, let's see what's on the next slide.
Okay, explorers, and after you taxi your plane onto the apron, you say thanks and goodbye to your air traffic controller. It's time to start talking with what we call apron controllers. The apron controllers work inside the apron tower for the Greater Toronto Airports Authority. The apron tower is attached to the actual airport terminal, but it's way high above all the other buildings. That's so the apron controllers have a good view of all the planes that are parked at the gates. The apron tower tells the pilot, which is all of you, what terminal and gate to park their aircraft at.
Yeah, no, that's a hard job too. I wonder if they wear aprons in there. I'm being silly. But anyway, you can tell the difference. Look at the different shapes. So I hope our explorers noticed the two pictures. Now you can tell the difference between the apron tower because it's kind of got that kind of belt around the middle of it, that square belt looking shape thing. Whereas the Nav Canada tower looks kind of, if you remember from the last slide, it's kind of bluish, and it's closer to the runway, so I can see, as Justin was saying, it so I can see all the planes that are taking off and landing, and that's great. So okay, let's see our next slide.
Oh. And so once you park your airplane at the assigned gate, that flight is over. Now you can turn off the seatbelt sign. Great work, everyone. The passengers on your flight then get off the airplane, and then the luggage and the cargo is unloaded. Then the plane is cleaned and sanitized, and then the new passengers board, and then new luggage and cargo is loaded in order to head to the next destination.
So the apron is a very important spot at the airport. I have to ask you a question here, Justin.
Okay.
Now, aside from the obvious, and I hope our explorers can see this, it says cargo plane. This is not really a passenger plane. But what's the difference between, how can you tell the difference between a cargo plane and a passenger plane?
Well, Catherine, when you're flying as a passenger, you get the cool seats and look out the windows. In a cargo plane, there are no windows and there are no passenger seats inside the plane.
Yeah, that's because things like your Amazon boxes or other deliveries that come in, like during the pandemic, a lot of our, special PPEs and vaccinations were coming in on special planes. But another thing, our explorers, I think if they remember from our baggage, our baggage, we have a baggage presentation, but a lot of cargo comes in the underbellies of our passenger plane. So if you're going to Florida and you're coming back in the cargo part on the underbelly of a passenger plane, you might be bringing back things like grapefruits or oranges, because we don't grow them in Canada, so we have to import them, which means bring them into the country. Okay, let's see what's on the next slide.
So now that you know how planes get from the sky to the gates, but what about the other way? How do planes get to take off? When you're in the captain's seat and your plane is ready to take off, the apron controller will give you the okay to push back from the gate. The apron controller will also tell you whether you should go left or right when you push back.
Yeah, and tip for explorers. Now, airplanes don't have rear view mirrors, or something that I love on my car, a little camera, backup camera. So it's important that when they're getting pushed off, there's, again, clear instructions on what to do. There's so much communication that's going on through so many people. So yeah, this is it's a really important on making sure that there's clear instructions that are given. And you know what? We have some activities on our website that you can play with and learn how to clearly tell people what to do, how to do something. So let's go to our next slide and see what's up there.
Okay, so the next step is for you to use your radio to call the ground crew. The ground crew are exactly what they sound like. They work on the ground outside. Now, one member of that ground crew is what we call the tug operator. The tug operator drives a big tractor that they connect to your airplane to push the plane away from the gate because, like, there's no backup camera, there's no reverse like you have in your car. So the pilots need the tug operator to push the plane back. Then the tug operator turns the plane in the direction it needs to face to move to the runway. The airplanes couldn't get to the runways without the ground crew.
What's another name for the ground crew? What do we call them? There's people who work, I think it's under the wing. Under the wing?
We call them under the wing set, or we call them baggage handlers.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what? That tug must be pretty strong, because look how small it is compared to the plane.
They are very powerful tractors, very powerful engines on those tugs.
Okay, so let's see what's next.
Okay, and also a part of the ground crew are what we call the aircraft marshalers. You might have seen them when you've been on airplanes. They wear neon-colored vests and have bright wands in their hands. They help guide the pilot and manage the vehicle traffic within the gate area. The aircraft marshalers use special arm movements to talk to the pilots and tell them what to do.
I think that would be a very cool job, but that's another language that you would have to learn. And I think our next slide shows us some of the signals. Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. So, Catherine, the first one there, at the left-hand side there, the aircraft marshaller is moving the wands up and down towards his face. That is telling the pilot to keep moving the airplane forward and straight.
Cool.
And then when he moves his arm up and down, just his left arm, it's telling the pilot he needs to turn the plane to the left a little bit. And then same with the right arm. The pilot needs to turn right. And then, of course, to move back, you keep your wands at the bottom and you're just pushing them forward to tell them to keep moving back.
What else are there? Oh, cool.
Well, it's very important to know when to stop, because so when the aircraft marshaller puts their wands up and makes a big X, it tells the pilot that they need to stop right away, because the pilot isn't always able to see everything, and you want to make sure everybody's safe. So that's why they need to listen to the aircraft marshalers. And then if the pilot's going too fast, the aircraft marshaller just puts their wands up and down towards the ground to tell the pilot that they need to slow down. And then when they push back, what they do is they take the wand and kind of make a big circle after they're done pushing back to let the pilot know that, okay, it's time and it's safe to start your engines.
And then the universal cut sign there, eh?
Absolutely.
Stop your engine, which is the signal right across your neck, I guess, or shoulders. So I'll have to remember to use some of these. These are pretty good. And we also have a video on our website that shows marshalers making these signs. And then we also have an activity where you could do a safety dance challenge activity. So that might be kind of fun to do, before you go back to school, or show your friends at school what you've learned. But yeah, so what's next?
So explorers, did you taxi your airplane off the apron? Great. Now it's time to start talking to the air traffic controllers again. They can tell you which runway to use and when you're allowed to take off.
Now, I want the explorers to pay attention, right? It's okay. But if you noticed on that last slide, there's a little bit of difference with the markings on the runways, and those you could tell the plane was on the. Oh yeah, thanks, Ruba. So look at that. Look at this picture, because we're going to show you that on the next slide. We're going to look at our runways, but you can tell the difference by the taxiways. And again, that's when the planes are off the runways and they're kind of moving over to the apron. But you can tell the difference between the taxiways and the runways by the markings. So these ones are kind of just plain yellow lines, and they're actually, I think, yellow lines that the planes follow to get into the various taxiways. So now, Ruba, yes, let's look at the next slide. So, sorry, I'm interrupting, Justin. I'm just a talking machine today.
That's okay.
But I just, before you start talking about our runways, because these are really important, but I want our explorers to look at the difference in the markings there, and then we can talk about that a little bit more later.
I'm very excited about that. So, Catherine, at Pearson, we do have 3 east-west runways and 2 north-south runways. So that means we have 5 runways here at Pearson Airport in Toronto. The runways that run east-west are usually the most used most often because the wind is usually blowing from the west or the east here in Toronto. And you can learn more about how the planes take off into the wind in the Weather and Science of Aviation slideshow. Very exciting information there. Each runway we have here is 60 meters wide, but in North America we use imperial measurements in aviation, so that means 200 feet. The longest runway we have here is 3.39 kilometers long, or over 11,000 feet. That means it's 6 times longer than the height of the CN Tower. Now, can you imagine being on the CN Tower and being 6 times higher in the sky than that?
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. And I want to, you look at this runway here. So see the one there's to the left, it's a shorter one, and then there's the one to the right. That's our 06 left, 24 right. And can you tell our explorers what's happening right now at the airport on that runway?
Well, on 06 left, 24 right, we're currently undergoing a rehabilitation project. So that runway is currently closed right now. So they're digging up the concrete and putting brand new concrete down, and then by the time November comes along, when it reopens, you'll have basically a brand new runway of 06 left, 24 right.
Yeah, they're doing some really cool stuff there. They're putting in like new LED lights, so it's going to make it more, lessen our environmental footprint, and we're recycling a lot of the concrete. That's, the runways are so thick, and the contractors have crushed up the base of the runway, and they've used it again, so we don't have to haul the concrete through the residential streets. So we've been very, very environmentally safe doing these and responsible doing this project. So it's really great to see how we continually to improve the airport. So so let's look at some more about the runways.
So Catherine, it's very important that planes take off from a clean, smooth runway. And it's important for our explorers, if they're going to be pilots one day, to know that too. So here at Pearson Airport, we have airfield maintenance staff who make sure that the runways are clean. They even inspect them for cracks. And sometimes airplane tires can leave rubber on the runways during landing or takeoff, and this rubber could make the runway very slippery. So it's removed with a powerful hose and motorized brooms. And you can learn more about how the airport keeps the runways clear in the All About Airport slideshow.
Yeah, and what do we call foreign object debris on the runways? I'll give you a hint.
We call that FOD, which is
We-
short form for foreign object debris. And so what that can be explorers, that can be almost anything. That could be a pen, that could be pieces of paper, a water bottle, anything like that. And it's very important that we make sure the runways are clear of that stuff.
Yeah, no, we don't want anything to interfere with the operations and to keep everything safe. So I think we got a slide now that looks at the markings that, oh yeah, good. The markings on the runway. So yeah, each of these markings have a meaning. So let's look at them. Justin, can you tell our explorers what each of these markings mean?
So explorers, if you look on the left side with the yellow markings there, on the left side of the runway there, those lines show what's called the overrun zone, a place where planes can stop in the event of an emergency.
Okay, and so that's good to know, because if we're pilots, we're going to have to pay attention to these lines. So what about the next lines? The next lines.
So those lines there
Which ones
show they are 3 lines on the left and the right, at the top and the bottom of the runway.
Oh,
there.
I see them.
They show what's called the target area. So when you're landing a plane, this shows you where to aim the airplane during the landing.
Okay, so I should be aiming for that, and then the next solid lines, what am I doing there?
That is the touchdown zone. So that is where you need to land the aircraft.
And then the 2 lines there that follow that on the right?
Those are called fixed distance markers. They tell the pilot how much space they have left on the runway.
So I should start slowing the plane down if I'm a pilot so I don't run out of runway.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. I'm beginning to understand this more. Okay, and what about the ones at the bottom here? Where's that thick one?
That solid white line there, that's called the threshold, which is the start of the runway. The number of stripes tells the pilot how wide the runway is.
Oh, so it's pretty wide, and I think we said it was like 200 feet wide. That's pretty wide.
It's
sorry.
No, there's a lot of space on the runways.
Cool.
And then where you see the numbers there, Catherine, is the runway name. So when you're speaking to the air traffic controller, they tell you what runway to land, and those numbers show you that if you're landing on the correct runway. So the runway name is actually painted 3 meters wide and 9 meters long, which is bigger than a bus.
That's huge. So we're landing on 05, our runway, and the other end of that runway is 23, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So because we use the runways from both directions. From the east, they can take off into the west, and they can land. Well, it's kind of complicated. We will at a future camp talk more about our runways. So we'll want to keep our young aviation enthusiast explorers excited about a future camp. So that's great. So let's go to our next slide, Ruba. Let's see what we have there. Oh, we're going to take off again.
Yes. So it's that time again to take off. So explorers, you push forward on the throttle to create thrust and take to the air. And even after you take off, you'll keep talking to different air traffic controllers. They're watching all of the planes in the sky, so they'll make sure you're not coming close to any other aircraft. Airplanes also usually follow what we call flight paths, which are a little like highways in the sky from one airport to the next. Flying on these flight paths keeps things safe.
Yeah, and our explorers can actually see planes and tell their parents. You can see planes and the operations that come from Toronto Pearson. We've got a program called Insightful, and it's on our torontopearson.com website. And if you want to see some activity that's happening over your house and learn more about operations, check that program. We're the first airport in Canada to to launch this program. So it's pretty exciting and it's pretty cool. I like checking out every once in a while because I live underneath the flight path and it's just kind of cool to see what's going on. So what are we doing next here? Oh,
This is one of my favorite topics. To be able to see all of the airplanes over Canada, even the ones that are very far away or above the clouds, air traffic controllers use radar. So that stands for radio detection and ranging to see the planes. Radar uses radio waves to see far away and through the clouds. The radio waves are shot out of a special antenna and bounce off the planes in the sky and back to the control tower. Special computers read the way the radar bounces and show the planes on a screen like you see the green circles there in the bottom right corner.
so that's cool. So air traffic and controllers can see where planes are all the time. So I guess, I guess it's kind of this helps even, I guess pilots don't drive by sight. So radar helps them figure out where they're going and know exactly, what their next destination is. It's an amazing tool or technology, I guess.
Yeah, it can tell you so many different things. Even when there's a bad rainstorm or the thunderstorm, lots of thunder and lightning, they can still see through the clouds there and know where the planes are.
Perfect. Cool. Well, I feel safe as a pilot knowing that someone's helping me and I've got technology to help me. Okay, let's see what's on the next slide here. I think, oh yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. The air traffic controllers keep checking in with you as you fly to your destination. As you fly away from Pearson Airport, you will talk to different control stations around the country. They'll make sure you stay safely away from the other planes. Then they'll help you land at your destination. There you'll talk to the apron controllers at the airport to park at the right gate. And you'll start all over again.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is that we did this at an earlier camp, and there's also a special language that pilots use with air traffic controllers, and when they spell things out. So because letters sound like, say you're spelling your name and you're or say you're spelling the word bed, not that a plane's going to go to bed or anything like that, but if you go BED and there's like some confused, static on your microphone, those letters sound very, very similar in sound, don't they? Justin, what
it can get very confusing.
Yeah, so they use an aviator's alphabet. So for the letter, instead of saying the letter B, they would use what word, Justin?
Bravo.
And E?
Echo.
D?
See, that's where it's confusing. I don't know what letter you just said. So
Delta?
Delta. Oh, Delta. Yes, that is a good one. See,
And
I thought you said V.
Oh, that would be Victor.
Mm-hmm.
P.
Papa.
Ah, see, so you can see that this alphabet's really, really important to making sure and you can play a game on our website, so check it out. So I think we might be on our last slide here. Let's see what's next. Is our pilot here? Oh, there we go.
So you see all the different people that work together to help the airplanes fly from one place to another. Getting an airplane from the gate onto the runway and into the sky is a little like a complicated dance. Everyone has to remember their steps.
So there's the marshaller, that person's so important. There's the ground crew and the tug operator. There's the pilot in the plane. There's the air traffic control. As you said, there's so many people involved and so many conversations that need to be going and clear communications to make sure that everybody safely gets off the ground. Boy, let's see our next slide. I learned a lot.
So, Explorer, did you learn a lot?
I certainly did. And you know what I also learned is that Ruba is a very good pilot, and I think we're very good co-pilots. So thank you, Ruba, for flying us through this presentation. So we have let's see what's going on. So that was really, really interesting. And just if you forgot some things or want to look at the presentation again, as I said, we're recording it and we'll put it up on our website tomorrow. And so now we promised to show you Russ, our roving explorer, our roving reporter. And I think, Ruba, can we check in with Russ and see what's going on? Now, the cool thing with Russ is he's on the runway right now, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about how the runway's operated. So over to you, Russ.
Hi there, airport explorers. We're out here on the airfield at Toronto Pearson, and I want to tell you a little bit about how the runways and the taxiways work. So we have 5 runways. The runways are numbered by compass heading. That means the direction that the runway is heading on a compass. So in front of us, we have runway 33 right, which means it's 330 degrees on the compass. We take off the last digit, and then we use the letter R because there's 2 runways that are next to each other. 33 right is the right-hand side of the 2 runways. And then behind, I think we have a big Korean Air aircraft taxiing in along a taxiway. So when they get off the runway, they turn onto a taxiway, and the taxiways are lettered instead of numbered. So there's Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, etc. We're using the phonetic alphabet as we talked about before. So that Korean airplane, the pilot landed talking to the control tower in the background. That's the Nav Canada control tower. And the air traffic controller there cleared the plane to land and then handed it over to another air traffic controller in the same tower who's called the ground controller. So the one controller controls the runways and another controller controls the taxiways. And as the aircraft gets closer to the terminal building, it's going to be talking to yet another tower. Those people are called apron. And so that's the area that the aircraft are parked on. So on the apron, we have apron controllers clearing the aircraft to and from the gates. So it's not as complicated as it sounds, but you better learn that phonetic alphabet so you understand Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, all the way through to Zulu. In behind me, I have a taxiing Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 787. The aircraft is taxiing out for departure. It's on the apron, so right now the pilot is talking to the apron control tower. It'll switch to the tower controller and the ground controllers on its way to the runway. Next to that, there's a aircraft being towed by a tow crew. So it was parked somewhere else, and now they're getting ready to take it to the gate to get ready for a departure later on. And so that tow crew will also be talking to the apron tower. So it's very coordinated effort to make everything work nice and smooth. So we just saw a Boeing 737-800 taxi in on the gate. The pilot was following the marshal's rules, and there's a whole bunch of crew getting that aircraft parked safely now, and then they'll put the bridge onto the aircraft, which they're doing right now. And all these things have to happen to get an aircraft parked safely so that the passengers and the luggage can be offloaded, and then it can get ready to depart again with this new load of passengers and baggage. All right, here at Terminal 1 apron, we have an Air India Boeing 777 getting ready to go back to India. And this is a beautiful aircraft. You can see how massive that engine is there. But right behind the engine is what I want to point out. You see the 2 hoses coming down. That's the fueler. And what he's doing is he's pumping the fuel through the underground hydrants here at the airport from the far side of the field where the fuel is kept all the way through into the aircraft so that it can fly non-stop with all its passengers and luggage. All right, so we're out here on the roadway next to one of the runways. By the signs that are behind me, you can see the red and white 05-23. That tells the pilot that they're approaching the runway number 0523. From this end of the runway, we're departing to the west, so it's runway 23. If we were coming along the runway from the other end, it's runway 05. That's on a compass. So 050 degrees or 230 degrees. The Q and the H that you see on the signs are designating the taxiway that the pilot is actually on when they're getting close to the runway. So they would be told by the control tower, the ground controller, which position, which taxiway to take and which position to hold for the runway. And then they're handed over to the tower controller who clears the aircraft for takeoff. So we've had a fun day out here on the aprons and the airfield at Toronto Pearson. I hope you've learned a lot. Don't forget your phonetic alphabet. Here, the sign we have tells me that either way, if I turn left or right, I'll be on Alpha Taxiway. And this WestJet Boeing 737-600 series is actually taxiing on Alpha right now. If I went straight ahead instead, I'd be following the arrow going up. That's November taxiway. Right now that's under construction, but that would tell me the direction for November. Now those are yellow signs with black writing. That's where telling the pilot where they can go from where they are. The black sign with the yellow writing in the middle says AE, or Alpha Echo. That tells any pilot that's coming from this direction, you're at Alpha Echo now. You need to turn left or right for Alpha or go straight ahead for November. I hope you learned a lot today with your phonetic alphabet and all the stuff here. This is Russ signing off. Over and out.
Oh my gosh, I always love seeing Russ on the runways. I learned so much, and I'm going to throw something at you, Justin. I found that Foxtrot uniform November. What did I just tell you?
Foxtrot uniform November. You told me which taxiways to go to and how much fun you're having.
That's what I meant, fun. So that's the cool thing about the aviation alphabet is you can just trick your friends using different, using the words and figuring out the letters that you're using. Okay, so explorers, we are going to move on to play a little bit of trivia and see what you remembered from our presentation and a little bit from our visit with Russ, because Russ was able to sort of give us an up-close view of the runways with all those cool airplanes. And we also, Justin and I gave you a couple of clues when we went through the presentation. So here's how we're going to play. I'm going to, because Justin's new, I'm going to try and stump him. But we're going to ask 10 questions, and we're just going to ask you to answer these in your head. Challenge your brothers or sisters or friends or parents who are with you right now to see who can get the most questions right. I'm going to see if I can stump Justin. And this trivia is just for fun. So see, you don't need to email these answers to us. Explorers, are you ready? And Justin, are you ready so I can see how much you learned?
I'm ready to see how you can trick me. Let's see.
Okay. First question is, here we go. Before an aircraft lands at an airport, who does the pilot need to speak to? So we have a few options here. Let's see what they are. Press, the air traffic controller. Do they talk to their best friend and say, hey, I'm coming into town. Do you want to go out for a movie? Do they talk to the air crew, or do they talk to the passengers? What do they do, Justin?
I think as much as talking to their best friend would be cool and making plans to go see the new movie that's out, I think the air traffic controller will help them land the plane the best.
I think that might be the answer. Let's see what our oh yes, it is the air traffic controller, or ATC, and I think there's some more information on that slide. Pilot Ruba, absolutely. Air traffic controllers help the pilot safely land and depart the aircraft on the five runways we have at Toronto Pearson. And you can see this one here is the air traffic control tower, because it's kind of got a different shape from the apron tower. Okay, let's see our next question. This is Stump the Justin. What is the name of the organization air traffic controllers work for in Canada? Now, is it Toronto Pearson Airport? Is it NAV Canada? Is it Transport Canada? Or is it Air Canada? There's a lot of Canadas in there.
Lots of Canadas. And I know it's not Toronto Pearson Airport because that's the airport. That's right. The actual airport. I think it's NAV Canada.
I think you might be correct, because Air Canada, I know, is an airline. And so, yeah, it's NAV Canada. And what do they do? Let's see. They can work in the tower in the middle of the airfield. And that way they can see all the runways. So you can see a picture of the tower there. So next time you're near Toronto Pearson, you can tell the difference between the apron tower and our NAV Canada tower. Okay, let's see question number 3. Okay. Oh, I like this picture too. What is the name of the area where planes are parked, loaded, and unloaded? So I knew it has a really weird name. Is it the taxiways? Is it Highway 401? Is it the apron? Or is it the runways? Justin?
Ooh, when you said weird name, I think it's apron. That seems like the weirdest name.
Yeah, because
on
I
the
think it
list.
wouldn't, yeah, I think it wouldn't be safe to park on a runway because that's where planes take off. And taxiways is where they get to the apron. So you are right. And what happens on the apron? It's where planes are refueled and boarded by passengers. And they usually call this area all over the world, but sometimes you'll hear it in the United States called a ramp. So you can see all those planes sitting there at the apron at the gates, and they're getting either cleaned, refueled, they're either passengers are departing, but there's a lot of activity that goes on there. Okay, 3 for 3 so far. Let's see what you can do with, yeah, I know. See what you can do for question 4. What is the air marshaller trying to communicate to the pilot in this photo? So he's kind of got the X in front of his face, and let's see what the options are. I think it is to say go, or he's saying hello to the pilot, or he's telling the pilot to stop, or he's telling the pilot to turn left. So Justin and Explorers, tell me what you think is the right answer here.
It is to stop.
You're right. Yep, stop. I think a lot of people, stop, don't move any further. And yeah, there's so many different arm movements as we were showing you to guide the planes to the ground, to their parking stand or on the runway. So these air marshmallow, I can't even say that. I was going to say air marshmallows. It's not right. Marshallers, they have a really important job. Okay, so let's go on to question 5. You're doing very well for a newbie.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so we have 2 towers at Toronto Pearson. What are their names? Let's see the options. The Apron Tower, the Air Traffic Control Tower, or the CN Tower and the Rogers Center, or the Eiffel Tower, or the Leaning Tower of Pisa. What do you think there, Justin?
Well, I don't think it's number 2 because the Rogers Center is where the Blue Jays play baseball, so it's kind of hard to talk to airplanes from there. So I think it's number 1, Apron Tower and Air Traffic Control Tower.
I think you're right. I've seen the Eiffel Tower. I was just in Paris. So, yep, the Apron Tower and the Air Traffic Control Tower. And these towers are very important for giving direction. And where's the pilots? Let's see what else I can tell our explorers here. Yep, that's where the apron tower is. The pilot speaks to the control in the apron tower when they're on the apron, and when they're on the runways, they talk, or runways and taxiways, they talk to the air traffic controller. Okay, we got 4 more questions. What's the name of the program that allows you to watch planes over your house? So I think we said it earlier. It's kind of a cool one. It's kind of called either Spot the Aircraft or What's Over My House or Insightful. What do you think, Justin?
Even though Spot the Aircraft would be a cool name, the answer is Insightful.
It is. And you know what? You can get it's the first, we were the first airport in North America to launch this tool. And so this might be something that our explorers want to check out after our presentation and tell their parents. You can see what's happening over your house. Question 7, what are the roads called that planes drive on? Are they called one of the following? Let's see. Highways, roads, or taxiways?
Well, I know they're not taxiways, and well, no, you know what? They are taxiways. I'm going to go with taxiways.
I think you're right. Let's see. Taxiways. Yeah, it's kind of a tricky question here. And it's a place where the aircraft taxi, and it connects the runways with the aprons and the hangars and other airport buildings. Okay. Question number 8, 7 for 7. What does the apron tower tell the pilot to do? They've got very important job and what do? Did they tell the pilot how to fly the plane, or do they tell them where to park the plane, or do they tell the pilot what country the pilot should fly to?
Well, as pilots, it's where we park the plane.
Absolutely. And you know what? I mean, I think it would be kind of strange that let's see the answers here, Ruba. I think it'd be kind of weird if you got on a plane and a pilot decided to say, hey, you were supposed to be going to Paris, but let's go to Florida. So they just have the apron controllers. They work for the GTAA, that's us. And when the apron is where the planes get refueled and whatever. So the apron controller controller tells the pilots where to park their planes. So that's a responsible job. Number 9, what does the tug operator do at the airport? Drives a car, drives a big tractor that is connected to the airplane, or cleans the airplane? What do you think, Justin?
Driving a car is very similar, but I think it's number 2. Drives a big tractor that is connected to the airplane.
Correct. You are smart. They drive that big tractor that's connected to the airplane. And why? It's because planes, as we said, don't have rear view mirrors, and it's very difficult for them to move out. So, Ruba, you want to click one more time? There we go. Tells the tug takes the plane to the direction it needs to go. Okay, you're 9 for 9, Justin. I have a feeling our explorers are there too. Our last question before we go on to our other part here is, how many runways does Toronto Pearson have? Do we have, let's see the options. 15, that's a lot. 7 or 5?
I think you're right, Catherine. 15 is a lot, so I don't think that's the right answer.
That would be crazy.
I think that would be a little crazy. I think it would be 5. I think that's the answer.
That's right. We have 5 runways. Let's see the answer there, Ruba. We have 5 runways, and let's see some more. One more, click. We have 5, 3 are east-west, and 2 that run north-south. So thanks, explorers, for playing along, and I'm very proud of you, Justin, getting 10 out of 10, and I'm sure all of our explorers did as well. But we had, you know what? We had a couple of questions that came in, and I think, Justin, it's your turn now to try and stump me.
Do you think you can answer them, Catherine?
I think so. I'll do my best.
All right. So, first question.
Next slide.
Do airplanes refuel after every flight?
Yeah, they do. And you might think that refueling a plane is just like going to a gas station and fueling up a car, but it's a little more complicated than filling up a car. You know, a plane can fly now for 21 hours nonstop. So planes have really big fuel tanks to make sure that they have enough fuel to get to their destination. Can you imagine, Justin, how much money that would be to fill up an airplane that flew for 21 hours? That'd be like hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think.
If it takes me $100 to fill up my car, I think it would be a lot of money to fill up a big airplane.
Crazy. Okay, what's the next question?
Next question is, what new technology is being used to make airplanes better for the environment?
Oh, that's a good one. Gosh, our explorers have really great questions. So yeah, most planes, like cars, use fuel, which is not good for the environment. But scientists now are looking at different types of fuels and other ways planes can be powered to help save the environment. So they're looking at things like solar power for planes, where planes have, or have solar panels on them. They're looking at electric planes. They're looking at things like biofuels. So there's a lot going on right now to make sure that planes are efficient and the fuel is good for the environment. And I think we have one more.
One more question, Catherine. How can pilots fly at night when it's totally black outside?
Well, you taught me this when I saw this in the presentation, that they use radar. So it's a good way. They fly by instruments. They don't fly by sight. They fly by radar. So we know that we're being watched all the time, and they know exactly where they're going on the radar range. So we only have 5 minutes left and we got a lot to do. So let's move on to our next slide and thank you explorers for sending us these questions, but I quickly wanted to just talk about the work that some of our explorers sent in last week. I want to show you Jaya's work. We did a presentation, an activity on Ivan the Eagle and all the things he did. And here's Jaya's work showing Ivan going for a shopping adventure in New York City. Let's see what else we have. We have Livia's work. Livia was having Ivan going out and meeting some friends and going to the mall and hanging out. It was great. Let's see what else we have. Thank you, Livia. Thank you, Tiffany. This is how Ivan became an airport helper and doing all this great work at the airport. Who else do we have? I think we have some more. Whoops-a-daisy. We kind of jumped a few ahead here. We have Sabrina. Sabrina did some amazing work here. It was like 10, a full comic book talking about and gave us her plan for doing the comic book. So thank you, explorers, for doing this work. And we are now going to go to our activity. Oh, and there's Julie. Ivan, sorry, Julie. There's Ivan the Eagle, who is doing some just a regular day at work with Ivan the Eagle. So thanks, explorers. We'll be reaching out to you soon about some trivia. And now we've got just a few more minutes to look at what were our activity today. And Justin, do you want to kick it along here?
Sure,
and what are we doing?
So today's activity is a puzzle called Crack the Code. So everybody put on your thinking caps and puzzle it out. You won't have time to complete this puzzle today or just now, but this is a little fun work we'll be leaving with you to complete on your own. You can do it with your family or your friends, and as Catherine mentioned, you can watch this video again tomorrow if you need some reminders about the airport codes and go over all the steps you'll need. So to do this activity, you'll need to print the following information from the Explorer website. It's the study list and the worksheet, and they can be found on the website on the section called Puzzle It Out, and the activity is called, again, Crack the Code. So airport explorers, are you ready to go?
Yep.
Perfect. So you've probably seen the 3-letter airport identification codes on your luggage tag when you've gone on vacation. The airports are identified by a special 3-letter code determined by the International Air Transport Association called IATA. The codes have lots of uses, but one of them is to make sure your luggage goes to the right airport. Airport codes are usually named for the 3 prominent letters of the airport's location. So Atlanta is ATL, Hong Kong is HKG, for example. And if we can move to the next slide. Canada's codes are a little unusual. They were created from codes used to identify weather stations back in the 1930s.
Yeah, and I know that ours for sure, Toronto's is YYZ, and I think it's really interesting. Next slide, Ruba. Please. Yeah. So you can. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say the interesting thing about you can tell about Canada's airport codes is all Canadian airports. They start with the letter Y or Yankee if you're using airport speak. So sorry. Carry on with what our explorers need to do, Justin.
So on the right of the presentation, you can see the study list. So to be able to crack the code, the explorers need to make sure they memorize all the codes on the right-hand side of the page. Are you ready? Well, let's go to the next page, the next slide.
Okie dokie. And all they do is just draw a line, connect, and figure out which airport connects to the its code. And let's see our next slide there, Ruba. Oh, that's great. I think that's a pretty easy and fun activity that our explorers can do this month. And please send it in to us, as to our airport explorers. So let's go on to our next slide there, Ruba, so our explorers can see. That was really fun. I had a great time today, and I like putting on my thinking cap and puzzling things out. So explorers, remember to send us your, crack the codes exercise to our traffic control at airportexplorer.club. And if you haven't sent in last week's work, send it to us. The Ivan the Eagle comic book. You have until August 30th. We're going to do the draw on September 1st for the Chromebook. So if you get your work in before then, you'll be eligible for the draw. And we also have a whole bunch of hats and t-shirts and jigsaw puzzles. So explorers, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the activity, Crack the Code. I know we kind of went quickly through it, but you can watch it again on the recording for tomorrow. And be sure to check out our website. So good luck at school, and we look forward to seeing you soon. This is Catherine signing off, over and out.
Till next time, we wish you clear skies and a smooth flight. This is Justin signing off, over and out, Airport Explorers.